Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Module 2 of the Discovery Series. We're super happy that you're here. Module 1 was awesome, all about the profile and about filling out the data in your questionnaire and doing your measurements. And so that was really fun, and people learned a lot, and be sure to catch that one if you have missed it for any reason, because it's pretty vital to get the accurate food and other areas of your profile to be correct. So you definitely want to watch number 1. All right, so here we are, and this one is all about foods. And we have a very special guest with us here. This is our ph360 VP of Research, and her name is Daniella Remy. So welcome to Daniella. You guys be sure and chat in the chat box. What's going on over there? Hi, Daniella. Uh-oh. Well, Daniella is off somewhere for a minute, and we will just keep going. So love to hear you guys chatting in the chat box and all of that. Let's see what's going on with that. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, there you are. You guys are there. You're just not chatting. Is there something going on with that? Let's see. Okay. Daniella, are you back? Okay, you guys, we lost Daniella. Let me just a moment, and we will be heading off into the sunset with the food section. Guys, start asking your questions in the chat box. Feel free. Okay. Hello. There you are. Hi, Pam. That's great. Sorry for the little bug here in the beginning. We're kind of going to start the whole thing over again when Daniella's here now. Okay, so when we do the replay, it'll tighten it up. And so I'm going to do that whole intro again, Daniella, really quick, okay? Okay, so welcome back to Module 2 of the ph360 Discovery Series. And we're so excited to be here and to be sharing this information with you. In Module 1, we went over the profile and everything about measurements and everything regarding the questions and how to get around ph360. Now, that is so vital that you watch that one, because when you watch number 1, you're going to learn exactly how to fill out your profile, because that's so vital, because you need the correct input to get the correct output. So your results will be correct, right? And so anyways, it'll be really awesome. Be sure and watch number 1. There's lots of new fun things in the profile. And this is Module 2. And this one is all about food. And so I know people are just like, I want to know about the food. And so Daniella Remy, who's our VP of Research for ph360, is here to share with us and to update us on what's going on with the food section and all kinds of fun stuff. So we're super excited to have her, and I want you guys to give her a big welcome in the chat box. Say hi to Daniella Remy. Hi, Daniella.
Hello, everyone. I am here and happy and excited to be able to share some of the really cool stuff that we have in ph360, what we've been working on so far, and the things that we're going to be working on in the future, and kind of get your feedback on things. I mean, everything is a world of discovery and development as we realize how personalized ph360 results are. So we're always learning, and you guys are learning, and I don't know, I love this. I love everything that we do. It's always different. So I'm excited.
That's awesome, Daniella. Okay, so can you just tell us a little bit about you and kind of how did you get here, and you know, a little bit about your background, that sort of thing? That would be great. Everybody'd love to know who you are. They haven't gotten to see you yet. So
yeah, okay. Well, I'm part of the originating group of ph360. We started with the research and the algorithms and putting it all together from scrap pieces of paper to one program that has to be rewritten, that has to be rewritten, that has to be rewritten again until it could finally become ph360. It took many various versions before we even started creating the program. So all of this started with Alberto Garoli, another scientist, Matt, Beck, myself, and this core team of people who had a passionate dream of being able to bring what was originally a program of many, many layers of information and research on the biotypes and the personalization of health and preventive medicine, and really bring that to the people. So we created a program mainly when we were all in Tuscany, all kind of on a retreat and putting these things together. And then after months of work in Tuscany, separated into our various corners of the world with Matt and Beck in Australia and some people in Italy and some people in the States. Jules came on board and I'm in Canada. So we're all over the place doing this, and it's expanded exponentially, I guess, over the years. So that's where my role started. And what I do is I am responsible for putting the research together. So I don't have necessarily one specific expertise. My background, I do have a master's. I'm very good at stats. That was actually research development. That's my forte. And I basically gather the information from the various doctors and professionals and spiritualists and Ayurvedic professionals and traditional Chinese medicine professionals and all these various things, nutritionists, put them together and coordinate how it gets put into the program. That's my job.
That's great. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, it's such a treat to have you here. I know that everybody is really excited. So I was thinking that maybe just diving into a profile might be a great way to start, and you can start in the food section and just share some of the details about the foods. I think maybe, Daniella, I think what I'll do is I think let's both screen share, and then I will be able to, and then we'll both be able to share whatever we're talking about. I'm going to take just a little bit of time and go through a little bit about the foods first. Okay. So go ahead and do your screen share. All right. So I'm going to start with the food section and just the mechanics of the food section. We already went over in level 1. We went over some of the basic mechanics of the food section. But I wanted to show you guys. Uh-oh. Okay. All right. So here's some of the mechanics of the food section. You can see on this page that we've got various areas of the food. And so every day when you open this up, and you guys, this changes every single day. Every time you log out and you log back into ph360, you get all new everything, okay? So, and the reason why we did it this way, we used to have, we didn't used to have all these pictures, but, it used to be just a stagnant page. But ph360i is coming, and Matt's going to tell you more about that on tomorrow afternoon at 12 o'clock. And so this is going to be amazing, and we want to get you guys kind of in the grill of being able to look every day at your ph360, because it's going to be updating you about all sorts of things that need to happen in your life that would be good for you. And so here you can see the foods to keep you vibrant are at the top, foods to avoid. This healthy eating tip is fantastic because it gives you all sorts of information gives you all sorts of information to make it so that you are, like, for instance, this one's actually mine. What the heck? What a bummer, right? Okay, so anyways, this is my profile. You guys are looking at the food in my profile. Healthy eating tip: do not drink alcohol. Now, some people don't drink alcohol right now. Do not don't get offended when it says don't drink alcohol, because in my profile I clicked I'm not drinking alcohol, but it's still going to come up as something that for my body, alcohol is a no-no. It's just not a good thing with my body, which is different than other bodies, right? There are some bodies that can handle alcohol just fine, no problem. And and so basically when you are looking at this, you'll see your healthy eating tip, and then you will see some text that's below it that tells you about what you need to do, and then a couple of tips, like how could it work? Like what kinds of things could you do if you were going to not drink alcohol? And I'll tell you the honest truth. I used to be a great wine drinker. I just loved wine, and I loved, you know, like parties. I love throwing parties. It's really fun for me, and it's all in my ph360 too. But so I love it, and I was super disappointed when it said no wine. But you know what I've really found out is that I at first I cheated a lot on the wine. So honestly, I cheated. But then after I got, you know, I went a little ways, and then I thought, oh, you know, I was cutting it back anyways. And then I just kind of stopped doing it. And I'm telling you, honestly, I don't notice any difference. I go to parties. Sometimes I drink kombucha. Sometimes I drink coconut water. Sometimes I bring a juice, and I drink water a lot now. And so it's really not made any difference at all. I am still the same fun person that I was when I was drinking the wine, and nobody even comments on it. Like nobody even notices. I'm not kidding. I think that, you know, before, like I had this idea that, oh, everybody will think something's wrong with me. Why am I not drinking? But nobody really cared. And so anyways, just a little tidbit on that one for you guys. And then let's see, there's your healthy eating tip. Here's your menu planner. Now, menu planner is coming soon, you guys. Woo! It's going to be in the ph360 soon. And so anyways, that is coming soon. And then my food guide, you guys, this is an awesome piece of data. Okay, so if you haven't noticed your food guide yet, open up your food guide, and then you're going to go through each one of these. Now, your food guide is simply it's simply a guide. It's not a, oh, this is laid in stone, because you may discover, like, this is your food guide if your body was completely balanced. When your body's balanced, this is your food guide for your specific body. But you may notice that some of the things on your foods are taken down, but that's for other reasons. And so currently, this is my food guide, and it will change. There are thousands of possibilities that could go in a food guide. But one thing that will probably never change for my body is green leafy vegetables. I'm supposed to eat tons of them. Now, some other biotypes are not supposed to eat tons of green leafy vegetables, and some other bodies can't have green leafy vegetables for various reasons. There are, you know, myriad of reasons that could be that you weren't supposed to have them. And now in the whys section, you can see exactly what it is. So you know how to, you know what the reasons are, why it's been rated the way that it was. So root vegetables are here, and those are a high priority for me. Citrus fruits, good at breakfast or lunch. You know, you just go through this, and then you can kind of see in your profile what goes with this now. Now this told me a diet with animal protein may help the development of muscle mass and restore function to connective tissues. So it's saying that, right? Great. Okay. So it's saying what kind of protein. And white fish 3 to 4 times a week, oily fish. Now, when it says these both are 3 to 4 times a week, it doesn't mean I have to eat all of them 3 to 4 times a week. It just means that that's a recommendation that I wouldn't eat it more than that. So if I only eat it, you know, 2 times, or maybe I have shellfish once, oily fish once, and white fish once, that's okay. White meat 3 times a week, eggs, usually egg whites, throughout the week, but not daily. That's pretty easy to figure out. So every few days, have some eggs. Seeds are super good for me. But it's important to notice which ones. Some of them are really good, some are not. And that's the same thing. I'm in the same boat with that. And so when it says nut butter, it doesn't mean any nut butter. It means look at your ph360 profile, and if nothing's there, then don't do it. Okay. And salt, green tea, those are all good. Or not salt, I need to cut back on, I think it says. And then when not exercising, if you're not exercising and not getting your body to sweat, your body will need fewer calories to function. But if you begin to move your body, you may need to increase the portions of recommended foods to help your body replenish energy levels. Okay? So, you know, just notice that there's information everywhere in your ph360 profile. There's so much information that it's probably a little overwhelming even. So let's go back to the main page. All right. So again, this healthy eating tip will change daily, as will my foods to avoid and my foods to eat. Now let's go into the full foods list. I'm going to check on Daniella, you guys. Daniella, are you back? I think we lost her.
I see you back there now.
Oh, she's here. Oh, great. Okay. So Daniella, you know, you've got a screen share too, right?
Actually, no, because I think that the two screens are what's causing my computer overheat. It's an 8-year-old computer that I love.
Okay. Well, I'll move around the screen then, and you can talk about it, okay?
Okay. I did want to address Rosario's question. She says, isn't it too much to depend on a program to tell you what to eat or not on a daily basis? Where's the inner knowing and tuning into your body? What if the software sometimes fails and recommends something that's not good? So I'd like to just address that, because I think it's an important question, and we'll be able to get back into some of this stuff. And so Rosario, I think it's important to also see that we talk about, for example, eating green leafy vegetables every day at lunch or at dinner, but it kind of gives you an idea of what you need to eat, not exactly what. So you can still follow your body and say, well, of the green leafy vegetables, I know I need to eat something, but today I really don't feel like kale, but spinach is, giving me a little bit of a jolt. Let's go for that. And that's when you switch it up, because ph360 does really emphasize variety. We're very often not supposed to be eating the same things over and over again all the time every day, but really getting into it. So even eating for the seasons and the things that are coming out and ones that are fresh, Oh, look, we have pumpkins coming out because it's almost Halloween, at least it is in the Northern Hemisphere. And so you look at it and you see how many times you can eat it, and you see that you can eat it maybe twice a week, but not every day. So then you choose the days that you want to eat it when you're having a craving for maybe some oven roasted maple glazed squash or something, right? So this is where you actually need to combine it, and ph360 really is a guideline. It helps you understand what might be too much or what might not be enough. Sometimes our body tells us to go for cravings, and those are not always the best things to go for. So I don't think that it's necessarily taken away from the body. It's supposed to be adding. So that's just something I want to address there.
Awesome. Thank you, Daniella. Yeah, and you can see the questions, so you can just jump on those when you see them. We'll just go with it, because we want to get as much information to you guys as we can. We want to get you so much information that you can actually know what you're doing with ph360, and not only that, but that you can share it with people that you love, because we know that you want to have people that you love being healthy and doing what's right for them. And so we're super excited to be able to teach you now. We want you to ask questions and make sure that we are really giving you our best for the next hour and 15 minutes. Okay, so great. Daniella, what do you think about the food guide? Is there anything that you wanted to say specifically about the food guide?
Yeah, the food guide is definitely just a guideline. It doesn't say you need to eat on Monday at 3 p.m. this food specifically. So it's kind of a guideline to help you understand more or less what you need to have. Now, some people will say, oh, but it's saying I need to eat root vegetables, yet potatoes was off my list. Well, that's when you have to think it's a general guideline of all the foods combined. So other root vegetables are the ones that you need to go for, not the ones that you're habitually having, but other root vegetables. So take a look at your smileys, and this is the thing that tells you more or less how often. And when you combine it with the smileys, you might have, for example, a 5 smiley root vegetable, but you're supposed to eat root vegetables only 3 times a week. That 5 smiley doesn't mean every day. It means now that's the most important one. That's the one that you want to aim for more than the 1 smiley root vegetable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, exactly. So when they are doing their various sections, that's just a guideline then, and they should they be, like, people have asked, do I put more weight on the food guide or do I put more weight on the smileys?
If you look at smileys as importance factors, remember, we're not talking about specific amounts and times that you need to eat something, because our lives are so different, right? Maybe all of a sudden I'm traveling, ph360 didn't know that I just went on vacation last week, and so my body is a little bit different. We're not at that level yet. We do want to create that eventually, but right now it is a general guideline of what you need to do. So you need to consider that those smileys are the things that are the most important for you. 5 smileys, super important. 3 smileys, average. 1 smiley, you can probably find something that's better for you. It's not bad. It's just it doesn't provide you all the nutritional benefits that you need at this time. So if you look at that, then you look at the food guide as helping you understand how often or how little you're supposed to be having a type of food group. You actually combine them evenly. I don't think it's necessarily one is more important than the other. They're supposed to work together in synergy, and they're not contradicting each other because it's an average, right? So you look at all the green leafy vegetables, and the average tells you, well, on average, you want to have this 3 times a week or 5 days a week or just every once in a while, right? They work together.
Oh, awesome. Hey, you know, another question has been when people are, let me get into I'm just going to go back and I'm going to get into the regular food program, the full foods list.
Okay.
Okay, just so we can just be in a section, right? I showed him about the Y text, Daniella. Can you just talk a little bit about the Y text? Daniella was the person who put everything together for the Y text, and we'd love to just hear a little bit about you and your experience with that.
Okay, so the Y text has been many months of work, basically trying to translate what the computer does for you. And trying not to repeat it at the same time. So sometimes there are many factors that would lead to one. You just kind of bunch them in together and explain it in really easy terms. Sorry if there's spelling errors. This is why we have a beta going on, because we do need to kind of fine-tune things. Sometimes there's advanced words in there that people might not understand clearly, or confusing ways of explaining things. We love the feedback for sure, and let us know how it works. So with the Y text, it's supposed to kind of give you an idea of why it is good and why it is bad, because every food can have its pros and its cons for that individual at that time. So let me get an example of not a 5 smiley food, because those are big things, right? Let's go down to a 4 smiley food or 3 smiley food, something later in the list where you actually have both of those factors. Usually what you'll end up seeing is these are the reasons why it's good. Let's say kale, for instance. I remember this in Jules's profile. We were talking about this for a while. Here, right now it's a 5 smiley. So this was a little while ago, a little while back. Kale was a 4 smiley. And it was very good for many, many reasons as a green leafy vegetable, full of fibers, full of antioxidants, all the stuff that you definitely want, the chlorophylls, typical of her sanguine body. And it also has, what is typical of cruciferous vegetables, is an effect that it slows down your thyroid if eaten in big quantities. It's not going to do it if it's eaten in a normal quantity, but big quantities. So if you're eating it for lunch and dinner every day, all the time, kale salad, throw it in there because it's a superfood, well, you might actually be causing yourself some harm on your thyroid system, your energy levels, just because nothing should be eaten too much. You need to have balances, and that's where you go to other green leafy vegetables like the lettuce and the romaine lettuce and the spinach and whatever else comes to your mind, because I'm having a brain fart. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay. One of the areas, you guys, to look at is suggestive food. And if people have foods that you want to suggest, it's right here. I hope you guys can see the screen right now. It's right here and suggested here. You just click there and then you put in the foods that you're looking for. Sometimes we get emails and support. That's where it goes. It comes to us there. And when we get the email, it actually has a food that's already in, but it's many times in the foods to avoid. And so if you haven't seen your food in the area that you're looking for, here's how to do a general search. I'll give you an idea. If you're searching for tomatoes, instead of searching for the whole word, just search for Tom, and then anything that's tomato comes up. So that way, then, if you didn't spell it right or we had it in differently or that sort of thing, you'll be able to find it. So that's how I always search. And if you had this set for foods, all categories, and then we did this search again, it would, I don't have any bad tomatoes, I guess. So there's none for me. But if you search into all the foods, it will come up with all the smileys and all the frownies. So that's really good. And so when you suggest the food here, and Daniella, like when we get a new food, kind of share with people about what's the process that it takes to, I mean, like I know from we put it into a spreadsheet for you, but then what happens after that?
There's a very lengthy process because every single food that is considered in ph360 needs to have a lot of knowledge base. We need to know not just the amount of calories it has and fats, but also all the polyphenols, antioxidants, the flavonoids, the amino acids, the vitamins, the minerals, the pH levels, the effect that it has on your body. Is a bronchodilator? Is a vasodilator? All the effects basically get lumped together for that one food. If we don't have enough information, we can't process that food, even look at it and consider it. Once we have that information, so we have a big spreadsheet that makes sure we have the information full and complete for all of these foods and making sure that we know if it's histaminic or if it's a nightshade or whatever else there. Then it gets to the next level of research base. So we end up having research done on that food specifically to be able to find out what are the latest discoveries on the food, how it's being processed, seasons when it's in season, how it's getting from one place to the next, what are the best times of using it, maybe, you know, the way it's made, like if it's fish sauce, if there's good fish sauce or not good fish sauce, and kind of go into the whole processing mechanism that gets recorded. And then we end up looking at some of the medicinal components of that as well. So it goes into another level. Once we actually know the food level, we go into the medicinal level. And at the medicinal level, we want to know, has it been used for certain treatments? What are the success rates or failure rates or doubts that you might have for certain foods as integration into those treatments? One of the things that's very important to know is sometimes there's research being done on a certain type of food. And they're like, oh, look, the antioxidant potential of strawberries. And then when you actually look at the research, it's being done on an extract of strawberries on little tiny rats, which is the equivalent of, let's say, a kilo of strawberries for this tiny being. And if we were to use it, we'd have to have like 6 kilos of strawberries for that. We don't, so we need to consider the weight and effect it has and at what point. So is integrating strawberries, like that one strawberry, going to help you, or do you need to compress it and combine it, or do you need to combine it maybe with other foods? Sometimes you have a certain polyphenols like quercetin that works really well with other ones. So you want to have like the red vegetables and the green vegetables put together because they work together synergistically. We have a lot of levels that go on that. And then of course there's a cooking process that we need to know for the foods. What kind of vitamins, minerals, or antioxidants or whatever else get destroyed through processing. It might be that heat affects it, or storage affects it, or what are some of the changes in the molecules when you freeze it. All these things need to be considered before we can actually put it into the program. So when we know all of that, it can be coded. The coding is actually putting like labels on the food for what it can and cannot do. And when you look at the background of your profile from a programming perspective, an individual profile basically says at the end of all the calculation, you need this, you need that, avoid this thing, right? So you need A, you need B, but avoid C. Well, then it goes to the labels that were associated with these foods and looking for the foods that have A and B, but not C. And that's why the Y text will have the pros and the cons, and then you get maybe a 2 smiley or 3 smiley. Does that make sense now?
Yeah, that's really great, honey. Well, what we've noticed is that it takes, it takes a little while to get the foods in. So if some of you have been waiting, you might have suggested your foods even 2 months ago. There's foods that it takes that long to program the foods, because I think you can see now with all the detail that's going into each food. Also, there's certain foods that are better for ph360 and like some that we're not accepting. Daniella, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we consider whole foods as much as possible, or the foods that are actually tangible. We're not going to look at brand names of foods. So there were considerations for instance, flatbreads and pita breads and baguettes, but you really have to think how it's being made. And even now, the idea of some of the general things need to be broken down into what are the components that we're actually looking for and not looking for. Now, I think somebody had mentioned Ovaltine and Milo drink, but these are brand names. So we need to consider, is malt good for you? If malt is bad for you, well, then a malt drink is not going to be good for you, right? So it's hard to kind of go into the brand names of things because that would be billions of different types of foods that then change because they can change the recipes and not inform us, and that can cause all of the problems. We look at the real foods, like the whole foods. The other thing is there's like 50,000 different types of apples around the world. We have apple, like that is it. Now, of course, you have apple juice and apple sauce and dried apples and apple cider vinegar. But we're not going to go into all the various different kinds of apples. This is why this is a guideline. And you can take your favorite apple if you're allowed to have apples as a 4 smiley. Take the ones that you enjoy, because essentially when you go deep down into it, they have very similar properties. Yes, a Granny Smith is a little bit more acidic than a Macintosh apple, but the properties that are going to provide you the nutritional benefits and preventative medicine in that sense are going to be similar enough that you can go ahead and take the one that tastes good so you can actually have the healthy lifestyle. And that's the thing you need to be concentrating on.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Hey, okay, so when a new food goes into our section, so like recently we updated foods, and you put in some new foods to the profile. I mean, there's some number of foods in there, and then when foods come in and they increase, does that jiggle things around, or is it possible then that your foods might take different priorities? Like if you had potatoes at a 5, but then there was 3 new foods that kind of superseded that it would drop down to a 4. Does that happen, or do they all just take on 5s?
When new foods come in, they are not directly affecting other foods that you have. They're just there. They're just their own point system, right?
New choices, right?
Yeah. So we're just basically adding to the database. What might end up changing, however, is as the seasons change, you might see some of the foods changing because your measurements change, because the seasons are changing, because your HRA is changing. Some of these things affect it. Also, as we're putting in new things, one of the limitations of putting in new foods into the program is sometimes the research. So if it's something that's relatively new, because it's a new way of processing, or because it's coming out on the market, or it just hasn't really had much attention and hype in the past for researchers to invest time and money into this food, well, then there isn't a lot of information there. We might have to slow down on when we can consider it good enough to enter the program. So for instance, quinoa and millet, very popular foods now, but they weren't that popular 50 years ago. So now we're looking at the types of research there are, but long-term studies are harder to find. And so you need to be very careful of being able to put these things in there. We managed to get them in there, but it took us a while. We didn't do it in a week. We just, really managed to gather all the information. And for something like millet, we went for research that was really international because it wasn't very popular in the States. So you'd have less research done in the States. You might have research done in other countries. So really going into the multilinguistic research and seeing what there is. But when it goes into your profile, it shouldn't affect all the other smileys and everything. You're not going to have a 5 smiley go down to a 1 smiley. They're just kind of adding to everything else that you have.
Awesome. Wow. Daniella, there's so much that goes into every single food. Wow, we can really see that. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is really, really, really fun to hear about. Okay, I know people must be loving it.
Yeah. I have a question here from Lorraine. She's actually asking about foods that can be prepared in advance and stored well, because it's not always practical for her to cook every day. Especially breakfast and lunch, which I understand because you're on the go and you need to get up and go. And I think that this is one of those challenges that a lot of people end up having, is really being able to adapt ph360's diet into their lifestyle. And the best suggestion I could have for anybody is really to, make it a habit of understanding what are the good foods for you. You'll start to see trends as time comes along, and you'll see, you mentioned, Jules, that uh, green leafy vegetables are almost always going to be at the top of your list. They're just constantly there. I know in my profile, cereal products are almost always low. That's just the way they are. So I'm not going to have a bowl of cereal for breakfast. I don't even need to look at my profile. I just know that's not going to be there for me. Maybe just kind of getting used to some of the things that you see or don't see. So for example, I find eggs actually can be made, like an omelet can be made ahead of time. And then you can end up just packaging that with some, if you're allowed bread, or if you're allowed some vegetables like potatoes or yam or whatever else might be in season at that time, and kind of prepare these meals ahead of time. But you just need to kind of become familiar with your own profile and create something that adapts to you. It's hard otherwise. We're not going to make meals.
That's great. I know a lot of people, I pulled up the preparation list here. Sometimes people have questions about the food preparation aspects. And wondering about, like they'll be like wondering, I could see the foods preserved in oil. Oh, we used to have raw foods and they're not there now. Okay, got it. So this is, yeah, that's pretty explanatory, right, guys? So this is where you find your preparation list.
Yeah.
You just come to preparation. It's right here with the foods, and you click preparation. You can see the best ways for you to prepare your food.
Mm-hmm.
And so feel free to go to that and look at that.
Yeah.
And another thing, Daniella, that sometimes people, like I've been one of these people, it'll be an intermittent, like there'll be a reason for me to it'll all of a sudden vegetables will come way up and then proteins will go down. Can you kind of help shine some light on possibility? And people will be able to see this in the why section now, right? Mm-hmm. They'll be able to see what's going on, or why it's getting dropped down. But I know there's multiple reasons why it could happen.
Yeah.
But just as a cycle, how is that for people?
Let me just talk about the seasons, since I think that has the biggest influence on the biggest changes, right? It's almost like, whoop, we're in a different season now, whoop, change it again. So if you look at traditional Chinese medicine and the influence that they acknowledge of the temperatures of food, so how the food will influence your own internal body temperature. If it rises it, we call that warming foods, and if it lowers it, it calls that cooling foods. So typical cooling foods are bananas and watermelon. Well, those are going to come up in the summer, and then they're going to drop significantly in the fall when it gets colder outside, and then you're going to see them as like a 5 brownie in the winter, because you don't want to be cooling your body in the winter. Similarly, you have warming foods, especially meats, by the way. Almost all the meats are warming foods except fish and seafood, so you have more seafood coming up in the summer, but much less in the winter, whereas you might find more red meat coming up in the winter. And because it significantly warms your body, that's a big change, because you have to consider that in the span of those months that we have, we're supposed to be eating these foods, but not 6 months later. So there's a big drop in those. And salad, for example, might change as well, because lettuce and salad, especially when it's raw, we might want to be eating that in the summer because it cools down the body, and we put all those fresh vegetables and possibly a little bit of fruit and nuts, anything that you might find in the season. And that's typical summer food meal that you can put together. But we almost never recommend a raw salad in the winter because it's a cooling food. And if somebody needs some green leafy vegetables, it'd be better to cook them. And yes, you can saute lettuce, you can saute salad, you can saute that romaine and some spinach up, and you can take all those green leafy vegetables and warm them up. And it has a different effect on your body, chemically speaking. Also, the way the nutrients get absorbed in your body once they are processed in that way through heat, that changes the way it enters into your body. And so it's very important to consider that those are the foods, but then how you prepare them could be a different thing.
Wow, that's really amazing, because so many people have been like, some people think, oh, I just want to eat salads all year long. And maybe now I can kind of see that that would make their body actually stress. It would create stress in the body or inflammation if they were to eat salads. And you know, in the olden days, the olden days, right? People had to grow their own vegetables, and in the winter there wasn't any lettuce. I mean, it just wasn't there.
That's right. We had
Unless you lived in a warm climate.
And fermented foods, you know, some sauerkraut maybe, but it wasn't the fresh green leafy vegetables because they didn't grow in the winter. Simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's great. Let's see. There's a couple of questions in the question bar. Can you see those, Daniella?
Yeah, I noticed that Rose asked, thanks for talking about eggs, but I do not have whole egg, only egg whites and yolks separately. And Pam already provided a really nice answer. Nutritionally, egg whites and yolk are very different, hence why they are separate, and that is true. We are able to separate the egg whites and the egg yolks, so they can be considered separate foods as opposed to, you know, some other foods that might be more difficult to separate. But nutritionally speaking, they're very different. And some people have had struggles with maybe egg whites having 3 smiles and egg yolks having 1 smile, and they didn't know how to deal with that because it comes as one whole egg. The answer generally would mean have like 2 egg whites and 1 egg yolk and kind of balance it out that way. So you're just having more of the egg white than the egg yolk, just because they do provide different nutrients. This is usually a problem with cholesterol. Some people have said, oh, but you know, cholesterol is a good thing now. We've realized that. Yeah, ph360 knows that. That's why it's not off the list. But there's still a limited amount of cholesterol our body can process throughout the day. 4 egg yolks is out of the, like, it's way too much cholesterol for the body to be able to process. But we can handle 4 egg whites. So this is, if you need a certain type of protein or certain balances, ph360 has considered that. Sometimes they're even for people, and then you can just have the whole egg. So that's why we're considering them separate.
Oh, that's great. Annette asked, is it okay to still have my veggies, fruit, and protein powder as a breakfast blended? But it would kind of depend on her profile. And what would be the factors that Annette would need to look for in her profile, Daniella, to know if that answer was correct or not? Uh-oh. I think Daniella might be gone somewhere. So let's see. She's frozen up right now. Not there. All right. Well, cool. Well, let's, I'll look at some of the questions too and see if there's something there that I can answer. Oh man, is this so cool having Daniella, you guys? She's a awesome person, and if you're enjoying hearing from her and getting to hear the insights from her, be sure and say so in the chat box, because we really care about what you guys are hearing and what you're thinking and how you're enjoying the information. So, you know, our goal here is to teach you about ph360, but not just teach you for yourself, but teach you so that you can actually, I mean, basically so you could help someone else. We want it to be that thorough that we're, you know, we're training, you know, basically we have a worldwide global mission. It's a big one. And so we really, really, really want to educate you as much as possible. All right. Danielle, are you back?
I am back, and I'm really sorry about that. I'm going to keep.
That's all right. I'm just glad you got back.
I think it's the graphics card overheating.
Oh, goodness. Well, what the heck? What the heck? Okay. Well, let me read you a couple more questions, okay? Let's see. Okay. So when someone has a question like this, like Annette's question, so when people ask me this question, you know, veggies, fruit, protein powders, breakfast blend, well, there's 3 different factors involved in that answer. There's veggies, there's fruit, and there's protein powder, and there's preparation. I'm sorry, there's 4. Okay, so when you take those 4 factors into consideration, you've got to look for which high priority vegetables are you putting in, which high priority fruits are you putting in, which, or if there is even a high priority protein powder, and then how are you preparing it?
That's
So
right.
then you look at the preparation mode, because people assume all smoothies are cold, but they're not. Some smoothies are warm, and some smoothie, you can make a veggie smoothie that was like warm, like a soup. You
Yeah.
could make a room temperature smoothie.
Yeah.
And then you can also add ice, but in my case, like, I'm not supposed to have ice, and so I just make mine at room temperature.
Yep.
And so those are the factors that I see in that one. Daniela, did you have anything to add to that question?
No, actually, that's a really good explanation. And yeah, you do need to pay attention to which are the best foods to reach for. Now, for example, I'm supposed to have a lot of berries that I don't always have access to, especially organic ones. They're difficult to get. So when I can get them, I freeze them. But I can't always put the frozen ones into my smoothies, which you would see if you go to a juice bar or something like that. So what I actually do is I let mine melt. Simple as that. I just let it sit there on the counter and prepare the stuff that I want, and I go about, and I mean, I'm not making it right away. Or I just boil some water and add some hot water to them. And the reason I don't always add the hot water is because it depends on whether or not I need to have the vitamin C that gets destroyed with heat. So if I need the vitamin C intake, then I'm just going to let it sit on the counter for maybe overnight and just leave it there. And otherwise, if I get to have it right away, I'm going to make myself a warm smoothie, as you said, and give the warm stuff into my body. Yeah, it's just putting all the bits and pieces together.
Yeah, and it's fun too. You guys be sure to join the Facebook group. It's secret, so you do have to go through a little process, but just send a note to support@ph360.me, and we will get you in there. And so, yeah, there's tons of people sharing recipes and all kinds of fun stuff in there. Some people have just joined Facebook for the group. I think they're pretty happy about it. So, yeah, be sure and check in with us there. Daniela, do you see another question there that would be good for us to answer?
There's a question from Barbara. Says, I'm curious why peas were excluded from my veggies. Is the protein content of veggies sometimes a factor? This is where I would say we have the Y beta now available. So I would, because it's hard for me to answer in general. Yes, the protein in veggies, by the way, is definitely considered. And it's specifically about the best types of proteins, most absorbable types of proteins, sometimes the ones that are combined with certain amino acids so that they get absorbed into the body. All of these things are considered. So yes, they are considered. Why they are considered or not for you specifically would mean I'd have to go into your profile and figure that out. And the best way we can do that now is for you to take a look at the Y text and see what it says. It should be clear enough. And if it's not, feel free to give us some feedback, because we're learning about how to be able to communicate these things for you. It's your diet, it's your body, it's your food, and it's your health. So we're only here to provide that for you. Let us know how we can make that as cool and interesting and clear for you as possible.
Yeah, that's great. When we Barbara, it's really important for you. It might be a good idea for you. I've seen you a couple of times. Maybe hiring a coach would be a really good idea for you. The coaching is so affordable. We didn't want anybody to be left out of coaching, and so we made it really, really affordable. And there are also some coaches that are nearly certified that are doing some complimentary appointments. If you're really in dire need and you need coaching but you don't have the money, then you could send a note to support@ph360.me and request that you could have one of the coaches in training talk with you. Okay?
Yeah. Coaches are very, very helpful. They really look at your individual profile and give you specific information for you and your health and clarify everything and really give you the leg to stand on when you're kind of confused with, I don't know how to integrate this thing into my life. And that's what the coaches do. They help you for sure.
Yeah. They're so helpful. I mean, seriously, I can tell you there's so many people that have just been raving about the coaching. So the coaching makes a huge difference in, I mean, this is your health and your life that you're talking about. And we're not just talking about whether you lose a few pounds, and we're talking about your happiness and the level of love in your life and so much more. And so it's, you know, that's really, it's really, really helpful to have a coach. Okay. So do you see another question, Daniela?
I saw Evelyn's question. She said, Jules, how do you know you shouldn't have ice? Let me just point that out. That
I can actually show her if you want.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, I'll bring it up, and then you can talk about it.
Cool. It's super easy, Evelyn, but it's important for people to know how they can know these kinds of things. Dawn asked, how do you make a warm smoothie? Dawn, we were just saying that you can actually have things that are room temperature, so you're not taking ice cold water or milk or whatever else you want to stick into it, or even add hot water to it to make it a warm smoothie. Or guess what? Soup is a warm smoothie.
Yeah.
It is. It's a blender to it. You have like a, it's called in Italian a passata. It's just basically blended vegetables. That's a warm soup.
All right, cool. Hey, so let me show her exactly how I'm going to find this so that she knows how to find it for herself, okay? All right, so here I've got I've got all my food lists here. And what you do is you click preparation and you click all categories. I always use 100 because I want to see them all at once. And the ones that are the highest or whatever, and then I click that, and then you can see here's my food preparations. Okay, so you can see at the top, Daniella, you want to just talk about this, like, you know, kind of how you talk about it? That'd be great.
Sure. So as I'm looking at this, I'm just seeing that Jules definitely needs to have lots of warm foods because the top ones are steamed and poached and boiled and broiled and stir-fried. Stir-fried also means sauteed, essentially. Roasted, it's all there, but it's processed warm foods. That's the best thing for her. If you were to go down, where's frozen foods? How far are we going?
Down at the bottom.
Oh no, I see it. Frozen foods like ice creams and popsicles. We can put ice cubes in there. It's a one frowny, which means it should be avoided. Now, if Jules were to have once in a month or something, is not going to kill her because it's not a 5 frowny. It's not something to absolutely avoid. Just try not to have it too often. It's one of those things like, you know, this is not good for you and you should know that it's not good for you. So the cold drinks and the cold food and the frozen foods, they're not good for her because probably, I can take a wild guess, it's related to the digestive system and, you know, just energy levels that probably go down when the cold is integrated and her body needs to work hard at bringing that temperature back up.
That's great. Did that help? I think so. Okay. All right. Well, let's, Daniella, do you see another question?
Hang on, let me take a quick look. Somebody says, so do you never combine foods, you just eat them separately? Rose, the answer to that is not necessarily. It really depends on what your profile has. We do have some information on food separation, mixed food items that might be specific for you, but what you should have and not combined, you know, whether you can have fruits with some of the other things. But most of the times, no, you can combine the foods, put them together. You just don't grab the things that are necessarily provided for you at the market because they might have been combined with foods you're not really supposed to be having. And by making the homemade foods, you're taking all the best things, combining them into the most healthy, beneficial meal for yourself.
Yeah, that's so true. I'm just going to pull that back up again because in case we have more questions about the food profile.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's another question, Daniella?
Lots of positive stuff, actually. Lots of positive comments, not always questions.
Now's the time, you guys. If you ever had a question about food, now's the time to post it.
Lorene is saying, do you have any recommendations for sugar addicts in making this transition? Lorene, I fully understand because you can see by my cheeks, I don't know if I'm on camera right now, but yes, I'm a sugar addict as well, and I've struggled at the very beginning. It becomes a habit, actually. You just start knowing what you can and cannot do, and you know, just kind of keep track of things. Now, the sweet tooth is very often, as you said, an addiction related to a habit. So my habit, for instance, used to be a dessert thing. It's almost like my body was hungry until I had something sweet as dessert, and then my body would say, yes, now I'm satisfied with the meal. Trying to avoid the sweets made me eat more because my body was just kind of continuing to be hungry. So I would get up and do something. And not sitting at the table and hanging around and chatting and everything that I did at the time, I would actually encourage people. I have a big dog, a big German Shepherd. I'd be like, hey, let's go for a walk with my dog. And then we'd go out, we'd play ball, and all of a sudden that change of environment changed my body's habit. So yes, people might talk about, oh, well, have some fruit, have some raisins, have, if you're a chocolate addict, having a piece of banana might not satisfy you, and now you've had a banana and the chocolate. That happens a lot too. I fully understand that. I think the best thing that you could do is stop thinking about food. And the best way to stop thinking about food is to make it a habit, to not make it an obsession, to not think, oh, I can't have this and I can't have that and it's so difficult. Just get up and move. And when you get up and move, you're putting in so much positive energy into your body. Our bodies are meant to move all the time. We're not supposed to be sitting the way we do nowadays behind our computers and buses and cars and everything like that. We're supposed to be moving. So if you can find a way to get up and move and change your habit, you'd be surprised how your body forgets it wanted something sweet.
Yeah, that's great. And another thing to do is drink a glass of water. A lot of times when we drink a glass of water, if it just goes away. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but it really does.
Rosario says that she had a question about how to find a suggested food when traveling. Yeah, when traveling, okay, so we're going to get into a more modern ph360 in the future when we can have the GPSs and all the things integrated and everything. That's the future, hopefully. But right now...
Daniella, Maddie's going to talk about the ph360i tomorrow at 12. So
exciting! How exciting!
We don't want to spill any fun things that are coming on that front.
But we might suggest Rosario needs to tune in tomorrow to listen to Matt and hear about what the future is going to hold for ph360. Meanwhile, Rosario, the way you find the foods is really the same way you would at home. I mean, if you're traveling, get to know the local markets, the fresh foods that are out there, and kind of get an idea of maybe from the health tips at that point. You know that green leafy vegetables you need to have often, maybe certain fish you're not supposed to have too often. You're supposed to have the nuts here, whatever those guidelines tell you, and then see what you can find locally. That's generally the best way to be able to do that. Now, if you're traveling to a completely different climate, there is a way. Jules, would you be able to explain how to address the climate conditions?
Absolutely. We just, in our last video, which was module 1, at the very end of that, we showed you in an update how you can update your location to be the new location and to get the foods from that area.
Cool. That's the best way.
Yeah, so we just did that. So if you haven't watched module 1, be sure to watch it. It's really good. That's great. Yeah, and another thing too about eating out, here's something that I do, and I've had such good luck with this. At first I thought, oh my gosh, people are going to be upset. They're not going to want to do this. You know, I don't want to ask anybody. They're so busy, all these sorts of things. But what I noticed is that what I do is I open up a menu. And I look to see if there's something that's already set up that's in my ph360. And if there is, I order it and I might minus something and add something. But if I really can't find anything, and that does happen sometimes, I can find foods that are throughout the profile and I can ask for a plate full of that and a simple grilled piece of protein, whatever my protein is. So like they can make me like veggies, and I can actually say, I've never had anybody turn me down. And I really think people always want to help you, and just assume they want to help you because they want to make you happy. And so, you know, if you ask really nicely and see if like, could I get cauliflower, broccoli, and celery stir fried together on a plate with a small piece of salmon, like just simple like that, and they're like, sure. I mean, most of the time they'll always do it. I've never had anybody tell me no, but I mean, you know, it could happen. But I'm just saying, don't feel bad about asking. It's okay, and you just say it really nicely, and they'll do it.
Yeah, I've had actually a lot of success in restaurants as well. Breakfast places where I'm like, can I just have 2 egg whites with some potatoes and some salad on the side, and, you know, green leafy vegetables or whatever, and they're like, yeah, sure, no problem, because they usually have the stuff in the back.
Yep. Yeah, if it's on the menu, they'll put it in your plate. They will. Yeah, they're really good about it. So that's how you can eat out. The other thing too is always go to one of the natural markets. You can look up natural markets on your phone and get your snacks and drinks, so that you have stuff that you can snack on and drink and eat, so that you're not like tempted to snack on churros or, you know, some caramel apple or something like that if you're not supposed to be having that. Yeah. So Is there another question, Daniela?
Um, yeah, I've actually seen, I don't know Pam very well because I'm usually hidden behind my computer, but Pam is doing an excellent job at answering some of these questions. So I just want to say a thank you to her.
Oh, well, let me share something about Pam. Pam is one of our ph360 coaches. So that's why she's so awesome in answering all those questions. She came and attended our coach training in Los Angeles, and then she spent the last few months training and coaching people along the way, friends and family at first, and then some ph360 people, and she just got certified. So congratulations, Pam, and so happy that you're here.
Congratulations and thank you. I was just making a shout out to how great you are. This is awesome. I love our coaches. We have such a great team of coaches.
We do. It's great.
Jules, would you be able to do a quick search for hemp protein powder or just hemp? Soren is asking, what about hemp protein powder? Now, it's not a question I can actually answer because I don't know what the question is, but maybe it's just knowing how to search for it.
Yeah, so I just searched for hemp. I didn't add all the extra words and then clicked the search bar. And now I've got hemp milk, hemp protein powder, hemp seeds and hemp hearts, hemp oil. Hey, and some of that just got added recently.
That's right.
Yeah, right, because we listen to you guys. When you send it in, it may take a little while because we have so much programming to do, but we do get it in there.
I mean, some of the process, just so you guys know, if there isn't enough information available online and all the research and everything, we're actually contacting production companies themselves to try and get the information about how they're producing things, how they're going about, the vitamin nutrients and everything like that that's in it, what they know about the processing, because sometimes processing is an issue. How does it come out? How does it go through? And so does it need to be cold pressed? So, for example, I think I was just talking, we were talking about sheep's milk yogurt, and there's a lot of information on sheep's milk, but not the yogurt, the processing, where to get, good sources and things. Like, we actually had to, do the legwork for it and get up there. And that means it's time and energy for that. And it might take a while before food comes up just because we're adamant about having all the information possible.
Right. And you guys, unless it says commercial on a food, we're assuming that it's completely pure. So when you're looking at a food package, if you pick up a cheese package and it has a whole bunch of words that you don't know what they mean, then probably that's not the best cheese to use. For instance, or, like when you're going with organic, even if you're going with organic, sometimes, a cereal might be organic, but it still might be filled with, sugar and other things that would not be that healthy for you. So, we're talking about the purest of whatever it is in our ph360. We're not assuming that it's, unless it says commercial. So, we've made some designations, right, Daniela, and some of the commercial versus homemade.
That's right. I mean, something like, I'm looking at hemp milk right now, or hemp oil. You might not be making your hemp oil at home. You might actually be purchasing it, but we really are talking about a good kind, and we'll try to describe it. So there's a description right there about what it should look like. And, we're basically assuming that you are reaching for the best kind when you're looking at your options and not the highly processed stuff.
Well, so let me just share what it says so that, because I don't think you're looking at my screen, but it says hemp oil comes from cold-pressed hemp seeds. So now you're looking for cold-pressed hemp oil. And it says unrefined hemp oil should be dark in color and a grassy, nutty flavor. So you're looking for unrefined, cold-pressed hemp seed. And if it's organic, that's just a bonus.
Yeah.
So that's this, we're trying to take you guys, and we know that you come from all different backgrounds. Some of you have been health nuts since you were kids. Some of you have grown to be a health nut and know a lot about all different sorts of foods, and some of you are new to this. And so we're trying to give you everything that you need so that you can arm yourself and be really productive and efficient in what you're doing out in the world. So, if you're going to buy hemp oil, then you'd want to look for one that meets this criteria. So we're trying to give you some of the background about it so that you can do that.
That's right. That's right. And so, yeah, I think it's very important to always consider going for the best sources possible, because we're trying to keep it easy and simple. So we're not going to look at brand names of hemp oil and which ones are the best. It's up to you. Kind of look at the labels and kind of become familiar with where you can get the best kind, because we're talking about a worldwide program here. So knowing what's available in India, in Brazil, in Germany, in the States, in Australia, you'll have to kind of look at the labels and get something that suits you. And of course, we're saying it in the description, in this case, cold press organic hemp oil, and also how to use them in cooking. But there's a little bit of, I think it was that first question, what's your body telling you, and your own choices in your food.
Right, that's great, Daniela. Thank you. Rosario, I just want to finish up that question for you regarding the place. When you're going somewhere for a vacation, it's fun to look at, even if you haven't been there for 3 months. Yes, just like, for instance, we're going down for the health retreat in California in another week. Both Daniela and I get to go. And we're going to be down there taking care of all of our ph360 peeps that are coming to hang out with Matt and everybody. And so when we go down for a retreat, we change the place to the location we're going, even though we haven't been there for 3 months. It's just fun to see if there's any new foods that come up and that sort of thing. So, and then when we leave, we change it back again to our normal location that we are in. Yeah.
One of the things that influences, so just so that you're aware, is especially if you're going to be completely changing climates or hemispheres, it kind of allows the program to give you something that's more appropriate. So of course, winter in the northern hemisphere, summer in the southern hemisphere, and so the foods will be very different when you go there, and your body is now exposed to warmth instead of cold, or humid instead of dryness, etc. So that's where that component comes in.
All right, cool, Daniela. We only have a few minutes left, and I really am excited to hear about if there's anything new that everybody might, something sneaky that you can share with us about what's coming in the food section. Is there anything that you
yes
coming that might be fun to hear about a little bit?
Well, some people have been asking about caloric intake, just because the portions that you have here. So when we say size and portion, as you can see on Jules's screen, those are general recommendations to give you an idea of what a portion is. When you go to a restaurant, you might find a huge piece of meat, and it's important for you to know that's actually maybe 2 or 3 portions of meat that you've had in that restaurant. That's not the average portion. You might end up getting like a big sized glass of milk or something. Well, what is the normal glass of milk or juice or something? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of a guideline. Then we need to adapt that for yourself. So some people have been asking about, well, how many calories am I supposed to be taking, considering all the circumstances of my environment, of my lifestyle, and my body? Well, we've been putting that together and trying to create a design that people can understand, and then something that will help. Another program that we would like to create, which is the food basket menus. So an idea of how to put the foods together, little recipes based on the foods that you should or should not eat. It's been a very difficult program to put together, so I can't give an estimate of how long that part is going to take. Calories will be coming soon, but the other one is a more complicated process because it's so personalized, and we need to get the computer to be able to put those things together. But even if you were to put in a recipe and look at the measurements and be able to understand how many calories for this amount that I'm having right now, some people have said that they prefer that method to be able to have an idea of how much they can have in a day. And so we're going to see if we can integrate something like that in the future.
Wow, that's so awesome. Daniela, thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday and all the fun things that you were doing this weekend to be here with all of us.
I'm very glad to be here.
It's really awesome. I know everybody loved it. I've seen some of the comments and things that people have been sharing. So, anyways, I'm sorry you guys can't see Daniela right now to say goodbye to her.
But if it crashes, then we'll see what happens. Here I am. I look yellow, apparently.
Oh, there you are. Oh, that's right. Okay, very good. Yes, Daniela, I just want to tell you thank you from the bottom of my heart because you do so much for ph360. Like, you're such an integral part of our team and what we're bringing to the world. And I can't even imagine if you weren't there. And I'm so thankful for you. And not only all that you do work-wise, but you're really funny and fun and cute to be around. So I'm super excited to explore the future and just have more of this. We're just headed in that direction. I just want to tell you thank you so much from me personally.
Yeah,
and I know that our group is really excited to have you be here, and thanking you for all the things that you do tirelessly behind the scenes. I mean, working day and night. I mean, seriously,
yeah.
It's a lot of work.
I think everybody in ph360 works hard. I mean, I look at how much you end up doing for everybody. You're really a great support, cheering everybody up. I have seen some of the emails that Jules has received where people are just like, I don't know what to do. And Jules just picks them up and guides them through. And then they're like, this is the best program ever. So if it wasn't for you, I'm pretty sure people wouldn't be having the best experience, because the science is there. We also have to be able to have that personal effect. And that's what ph360 is all about. It's the whole system. It's not just the diet that could be struggling, but really being happy. That's it.
I know.
So thank you, Jules. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, enough of that. All right. So we're going to say goodbye to you guys now, and we're going to be coming back at 12 noon today. Do not miss 12 noon, because we're going to have Diana Anderson on, and she's going to be talking about the science behind ph360, and it's going to be amazing. So you definitely want to be there at 12. We're going to take a little break. We're going to all get some moving going. Daniella, you're going to get some moving going too. All right. So we love you guys. We are having so much fun doing this. I'm so happy you're here. I love it. This is a great way for me to spend a Saturday connecting with all of you. So anyways, I'll see you all at 12 noon.